Sifter for the ear.
News, interviews, reviews, cinema, TV, streaming. Action!
Hi, y'all. This is Jerry Williams, a.k.a. TV Jerry. The James River Short Film Showcase is a mini festival devoted to short films. The centerpiece is an international juried competition for short films, 20 minutes or less, from around the globe. They look for films that best embody what the James River Film Society and the James River Film Festival are all about: the art of film and film as art. This marks the 30th year of the competition, and the showcase takes place January 17th at the VMFA. There will be $3,000 in prizes, and I am honored to be the guest judge this year. There'll be a link to the entry page on the webpage for this show at tvjerry.com.
When it started snowing and we're still set in the summertime, we actually had to rent a warehouse and have a truck in the warehouse and completely green screen that whole thing. So a lot of the driving footage is actually inside a warehouse.
That was longtime Richmond actor-filmmaker Kahil Dotay talking about one of the many challenges he faced in the almost 10 years of writing, directing, and starring in his long-awaited film Vampires in Virginia. He'll tell us lots more in the interview.
Sifter Review of the Week.
The Penguin on Max. Reprising his role from The Batman, Colin Farrell once again dons pounds of prosthetics to create the titular villain. With the help of a burgeoning delinquent, Renzi Feliz, he sets out to control the mobs that run Gotham. Leading the fight against him is an unscrupulous mob daughter, Kristen Falcone. Anyone expecting big, typical DC comic action scenes will be disappointed. There are a few splashes of violence, but this is much more a typical crime drama. What makes this film stand out is Farrell's deep, disturbing characterization and Falcone's equally sinister creation. The dialogue scenes are almost always intense and too long. The overall atmosphere is dark, dark, dark. Certain aspects are compelling, primarily Farrell, but at some point it may be more of an acting exercise for him than a riveting dramatic series. Based on 6 out of 8 one-hour episodes, I gave The Penguin 2.5 out of 5 stars. Kahil Dotay, welcome to Sifter for the Ear. It's about damn time.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start with the end. As I always do, I watched all the credits, and there was a thanks to Jerry Williams. Whoa, I didn't expect that. What did I do to deserve that?
Man, you are always so supportive of me. You just do things that support the film community that you probably don't even realize, so you deserve a special thanks.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Kahil Dotay, what kind of name is that? What is your background?
So Kahil is from Kahil Gibran. Kahil Gibran was a Lebanese poet, and my parents just absolutely loved his poetry, as did a lot of the hippies from Berkeley, where I was from.
Footnote.
Gibran was best known for his book The Prophet, which was published in 1923, but is still one of the best-selling books of all time.
So they wanted me to name me sort of after him, so they did. And then Dotay is derived from Doty, Edward Doty, who came over on the Mayflower. And since him coming over, a lot of different families just changed the spelling of his name and how you pronounce it. And it's funny, so if I go to Boston, I can get into some museums for free because first, families of Boston kind of thing. But the funny thing is, so Edward Doty was a rabble raiser, and he got in trouble for stealing someone's pig, and then he sued someone else for stealing his cow, and he got some lady pregnant, and they had to get married. It turned out he was an indentured servant, and that's how he got over on the Mayflower. He's not necessarily probably a first family of Boston that Boston people want to be proud of, but still, it's kind of cool.
How did you get into acting? How did you decide you wanted to do that?
As a kid in high school, I never did the theater acting, but I got hired or corralled to do live theater presentations for the Mental Health Association and stuff like that, where I think I was in middle school, and it's almost like standardized patient acting, if you know what that is.
Right, yeah.
So they're like, okay, Kahil, you're a troubled teen who has this condition. So these are the mannerisms you have. These are the things that you are, and it's all mental health. And so we'd play out the scene, and then the moderator would say, okay, in this scene, this child is blah, 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 and here's how you would address this or something like that. And we did that in malls in Florida. And to me, it was just fun. And then I did some acting for a Latin club and won awards for that. And so it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. I guess I'm pretty good at this. But I never felt the pull to do the actual drama club or acting club. And I probably should have, because Malcolm Gets with Caroline in the City.
Footnote.
Cahill was right. Malcolm Getz played Dingle on Caroline in the City from 1995 to 1999, and then went on to other movies and shows.
He was in that same, I would have been acting alongside him, because he's a few years older than I am. And I found a lot of people have that. There was this lawyer guy, I had mentioned to him, he's just a real big guy. And I'm like, hey man, can I ask you a question? He's like, yeah, what? And he goes, you ever think about doing any acting? He's like, why are you asking me that? I said, because I need a big mafia looking guy to kill my character in this movie that I'm in. And they're having trouble finding a really imposing guy. He goes, no, man, appreciate you asking, but no thanks. And then I get a call the next day and he goes, hey, man, I can't stop thinking about what you said. And I'm like, why? Because believe it or not, I used to act in high school and college and I miss it so much. And I didn't realize how much I missed it until you said something. And I thought, yeah, I would like to do that. So he goes, next time something like this comes up, let me know. I'm like, well, something like this will come up in 2 weeks. And he's like, all right, I'm in. So he did it. And it was so funny because he's a lawyer and he's still a lawyer. And that's the only acting gig thing he's done. And I've seen a lot of people who sort of have that need or want and just remain unfulfilled.
So, what inspired you to write a movie about vampires in Virginia?
At the time, I was thinking more pragmatically, like, I need to do my first feature film. What can I do that has marketability at the level where I was at, which is, no money, no name recognition. Writing talent was there because I'd won some awards for scripts in the past. And I thought, well, zombies or vampires, those are the two. So I actually started off trying to write a zombie movie, and it was based on the accident at the Midlothian mines in Midlothian, Virginia, where some miners got trapped down there alive, and they tried to dig them up and they couldn't. So they just stayed there buried alive. And in my first iteration, the zombies were somehow unearthed by rambunctious teenagers.
Of course.
And, now they're mad and they're ready to attack and avenge their deaths and whatever. But I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing. So I'm like, well, let me try vampires. So then I'm like, all right, well, let me try to write a vampire movie that I would like to see that would be sort of based in reality, take all the sort of fantasy stuff out of it that I could not justify in modern science.
And I think it might have been cheaper because you didn't have to have special effects of people flying or walking through walls or turning into bats.
Right.
Which are the old classic tropes.
Well, and it turns out actually we had so many special effects that we had to do anyway in the normal film. Gosh, we would probably still be working on it today if we had all those other special effects.
I saw in the car inspection that it was set in 2019. Was that when it was actually shot?
No, that's one of the special effects that we did. The principal photography started in 2014, and then we did pickup shots in 2015. Once we went through a very, very rough assembly cut, we're like, you can definitely see the change of seasons because it took us 3 months to shoot it. And so like, we need some footage of trees that have leaves on it. When it started snowing and we're still set in the summertime, we actually had to rent a warehouse and have a truck in the warehouse and completely green screen that whole thing.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of the driving footage is actually inside a warehouse.
You finished wrapping 10 years ago. What took so long to get it finished?
Beside the usual problems that happens with independent filmmakers as far as running out of cash, having to redo some shots, personal issues that happen with individual key members. Our editor got cancer, and so that took about a year and a half to 2 years, and people were just saying, well, just get another editor. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, you don't just drop your editor,
right?
Especially when you have a collaborative project like this where everybody's putting in their all. They're not getting paid, or if they're getting paid, they're getting very minimal money. So it's about the love. You don't just drop somebody. Then each year we had some other big thing happen.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, what the heck is going on?
Cursed. You were cursed.
Yes, it's the curse of the vampires. Maybe that should be the new name.
There you go.
But then into 2019, we are ready to release this. We're going to release it in 2020. We're going to be ready to go. Then COVID hit. I'm like, well, we'll just get people to work on it. Turns out everybody who did visual effects were really, really busy because everybody had the same idea. Like, well, we can't go shoot a movie. Let's do everything we can do at home. And so everybody's doing work at home and getting paid good money. So me with my little tiny pocketbook couldn't afford these people. So I just sort of had to wait in line.
You wrote the script, and it's about a reporter, played by you, who suddenly discovers this series of incidents that lead him into, of course, the vampires in Virginia. When you originally wrote it, were you going to be playing that lead role, or did you decide I can't find anybody better, or was that to save money? Or
all the above. We had Tim Russ of Star Trek fame. He was involved and actually still is involved as far as helping me out.
Footnote.
Tim Russ is best known for his role in Star Trek Voyager for 6 years, but he's had many other screen roles as well.
And originally I'd like to have him play one of the leads, but he's like, that's too much. I want to direct it. And this is all in 2012 before we were ready to shoot. So I'm like, okay, he'll play one of the minor characters and then he'll be the director. And then he was going to pull some of his, we'll call him named talent to fill in the other roles. And so it was really coming together. We had financing, and because of his name, we actually had decent financing and we're ready to go. And then my good buddy Steven Spielberg comes to town.
Footnote.
Steven Spielberg was in Richmond in 2011 to film Lincoln.
And what did he do? He took everybody and paid the regular IATSE rate. And so everybody's coming up to me and they're like, look, I'm going to be able to make 2 or 3 times the amount if I work with Spielberg instead of this vampire movie. And I'm like, yeah, I can't stop you from doing that. And I shouldn't. I mean, Spielberg, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And I did the same thing. I'm like, well, I'm joining the crowd. So I worked on this Spielberg film for 3 months and it was an amazing experience and everybody had an amazing experience. But as a result, now my film that I'm supposed to shoot in 2012, we had to push it till Spielberg was done. And then when I went back, the investors I had were like, oh no, we had to have our investment done by the end of 2012. And then we set a date like 2014. That's the new date to shoot. And then Tim Russ was like, I am so busy now. I can't afford to go out there and take that much time to direct this or even be in it. And that was a real big bummer. The cool thing is that Tim has been a phone call away and he's the one who said, hey, originally the main character, Peter, was going to be an ex-cop. He's like, nah, he goes, this seems more like a reporter. You should make him a reporter. And he just gave it amazing notes. So we still owe a lot to him.
Speaking of shooting the film, somebody wanted to drop in and talk about it because they were there.
Surprise guest drop in.
Hey, it's Scott Carter.
Footnote.
Scott Carter is a local actor, producer, and first assistant director.
Good. I don't know how I got on this call because I give Cahill the hardest time of anybody.
That's why.
I did not sign up for any kind of roast or anything. I didn't sign any release. So
Scott, what did you do on Vampires in Virginia?
Of course, in independent filmmaking, you're doing everything all at one time. And not only was Cahill producing and directing, but he had scenes in the movie as well. So he called and asked me if I would help him for a day or two from a directorial standpoint while he was in front of camera. Or I can't remember, Cahill, was it 1 day or 2 days?
I think it was 2. The cool thing, it was amazing having Scott on set because he brought with him this air of professionalism, and a lot of the crew and talent were really having a good time, and they were sort of treating it more like this is just really, really fun. We're having a great time.
Right.
And Scott was like, okay, yeah, that's great. I'm glad you're having a good time. But, we have a film to shoot. And he was, like he says, he was the adult in the room.
When I walked in, I said, all right, folks, Cahill from this moment forward is in front of camera. And so if you have any questions, come to me. Don't ask him about producerial or directorial questions so that he could focus on the job at hand that he had for that day.
Cahill, you're in almost every scene, and you called Scott in to help a little bit. So was there a particular scene or a particular part where you needed that backing?
See, I didn't even know I needed help until when Scott was there and he had said what he just said. But he also kind of pulled me to the side and he looked me in the eye and he's like, listen, you are an actor right now. You're not a director. You're not a producer. You concentrate on being in character. I think he might have had to tell me that even twice.
The 2 times 20, maybe.
Huh.
Well, how did that work for you, Cahill? Did it help?
It was great because after the 21st time, apparently, I actually did forget about everything else and just did the acting. Sure enough, seeing the takes after he had done his little, we'll call it acting coach, and the acting and the interchange, all that was so much better thanks to him. And there's no way I would have noticed that.
Yeah.
So thank you, Scott.
But I'm really proud of what Cahill has done. He created quite a group of people that were all collaborating together, which is truly the spirit of independent filmmaking. So it was a wonderful moment to be a part of. Well, I always joke with Cahill that will vampires in Virginia ever see the light of day? That should be his tagline.
There you go. That's a perfect tagline.
Yeah,
a script credit
Scott,
now.
you copyrighted it and trademarked it and wants me to lease it from him, so that's not cool.
That's smart filmmaking.
Well, Scott, I want to thank you for dropping in and adding your 2 cents. It was great to see you via Zoom. And one of these days, we got to get you on the show to talk about what you do, because you do all kind of crazy stuff.
That will be like probably a 6-hour extended podcast.
All right. Thank you, Scott.
Thanks for having me. Congratulations, Cahill.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And, this is actually segueing very well into the next question I had anyway, is what was the biggest challenge with having to direct yourself?
There's so many big challenges, but one really is that you don't know how your performance is looking on camera. You can feel how the performance feels like in real life, but you don't know what the film is capturing. And those are 2 different things. 10 years ago, it wasn't really set in my mind that that's something you really, really need to look at. And I know other directors who they want to see the live action because that's cool looking. And I learned that also in editing where I didn't have Scott, watching something that I directed myself and I'm watching the interplay. I'm like, ooh, the other actor seems pretty dead.
And they weren't a vampire.
What?
And they weren't a vampire. I'm trying to make a little joke.
That's not funny, Jerry. This podcast is over. I'm out of here. Where's my agent?
Actually,
hold on. I'm on the phone with my lawyer and my agent right now.
Oh my God. Oh, the scandals. So you had guns in this thing more than once. And of course, after Rust, and for years, gun safety is obviously a very important thing. It seems to me, and you mentioned earlier, visual effects, none of those guns were actually firing any rounds, right?
Those were all fake guns. I've been involved in over 200 TV movies and commercials, and a lot of those had guns, and we never had real guns.
Wow.
The prop guns they look so amazing and they have great action. Doesn't make sense to me why you would ever have a real gun. And we told everybody, hey, there's no live arms on set, but if anybody has any issue at any time, you're allowed to inspect any one of these guns. So yeah, we didn't have any issue with that. And then we made sure that nobody was allowed to bring firearms on set, but the kind of crew we had, nobody was interested in doing that anyway.
Well, now the same thing there is some sex. More than once, there's a couple of crazy sex scenes. Did you have an intimacy coordinator, or was this back before those people were around?
This was back before any of that was even thought about. We made sure everybody was 100% comfortable before shooting, make sure they were comfortable on camera before shooting, and then just before, while on the day, we took every person and we just said, hey, we want to make sure you're 100% comfortable with this. If you're not comfortable in any way, you just let us know. You can just wrap for the day. And I promise, we'll bring you back as some sort of other character or some other part of the movie. So don't worry about that. You won't have another shot at another role.
Right.
Every single person was just like, yeah, what are you talking about? Why are you making such a big deal? This is whatever, except one. And I said, look, if anybody asked, and I don't think anybody will ask, but if for some reason people ask them to go, oh, where's blah, 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 we'll just say, oh, that person got sick and they're going to be back later, though. But they got sick, so we had to send them home. I'm sorry. And we did bring him back. And so he's featured in another scene. And so he was happy about it.
And he will remain unnamed, I'm assuming.
Yeah. And it might not even be a he. I might have been using he in the general.
So I guess because it was 10 years ago, that's why everybody was using flip phones instead of smartphones?
We had both flip phones and smartphones. So the flip phones were the burner phones. So characters, if they have a flip phone, then they were burner phones. If they had a non-flip phone, then it was smartphone. We don't want to give away plot points, but there is one scene where you definitely know it is a smartphone because they couldn't do what they did with a flip phone.
What is the situation with Vampires in Virginia in terms of showing it and getting it distributed?
Well, on distribution, we're not even there yet. I'm in talks with a rep who wants to rep it. But in the meantime, people have been just pounding down my door trying to see this movie. When can we see it? When can we see it? When can we see it? So what we're doing is we'll call it unofficial screening. It's a screening for the cast and crew and then limited public tickets available. So after all the cast and crew get all the tickets they want, then we'll have a limited amount of tickets that we will sell to the public.
Good deal. And I'll have a link to that on the webpage, too, for this show.
Yeah, and you know what? If you name drop TV Jerry because he's such a hot shot, I'm going to give you 50% off.
Oh, really? Okay.
You have to type this in, so listen carefully. You have to say TV Jerry is the man. He is the celebrity that we all wish we could emulate. Then you get 50% off any ticket.
Footnote.
I'll have links to the tickets on the webpage for this show at tvjerry.com. Speaking of watching and appreciating, my last question I always like to ask everybody is, what are you watching when you've got some time to just hang out?
I did watch the first season of Shrinking.
Which I loved.
Yeah. Have you started on the second season
Yep,
yet?
halfway through that, yep.
Are you liking it so far?
Yeah. It's still, Harrison Ford, I can't believe he didn't get an Emmy nomination because he's so hilarious. Jessica Williams is great. It's a fun show.
It is. I'm not sure if I just gone ahead and wait till it's all done and then binge it, because sometimes I get really frustrated, can't binge it. Slow Horses, you watched that one?
A lot of people love it. I gave it about 4 episodes and just could not get into it.
Is it just the main character? Well, not the main character.
No, it just didn't move me. It just didn't work for me.
What about Severance?
I appreciated it more than I liked it. But this is supposed to be what you're watching, not what I like.
Well, no, these are things that I like. I'm not randomly.
That's a while ago, yeah. Severance's second season's coming at some point this year.
Yeah, well, I'm mentioning that because I'm like, this is what's frustrating. If you're going to make it cliffhanger, then damn it, come out quicker. But then maybe that's how people are feeling about Vampires in Virginia.
Oh, okay. We'll find out. All right, Cahill, well, great. I will make sure I have that link up, and I can't wait to see what your response is for the movie and where it goes next.
Yeah, thank you, man. I really appreciate you and everything you do for our film community and the TV community. And I don't know where you get the energy to watch all these movies and do the reviews and not be completely, jaded by now. And I just really appreciate you. And thank you so much for having me on.
Well, thank you so much. I'm very jaded. It's just not showing. That was longtime Richmond actor-filmmaker Kahil Dotay talking about Vampires in Virginia, the film he wrote, directed, and starred in. There are links to getting the 50% off ticket price on the webpage for the show at tvjerry.com. You may have noticed he mentioned that he's been in more than 200 shows, so we'll continue to explore that side of his career in a future episode, where he has some great stories about working with famous actors and more.
Coming soon. In theaters.
Blitz, the latest from director Steve McQueen, stars Saoirse Ronan and Harris Dickinson, the film about a biracial boy who escapes when children are being sent out of London to avoid the bombings during World War II. The Piano Lesson. This is the third of playwright August Wilson's plays to be brought to the screen by producer Denzel Washington, with his son Malcolm directing and his other son John David starring. Heretic. Hugh Grant goes dark in this thriller where he plays a mysterious man who invites 2 young religious women into his home. The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. This is an update on the 1983 comedy about a group of kids who disrupt the traditional performance.
TV and streaming.
Day of the Jackal on Peacock. This new version stars Eddie Redmayne as the elusive assassin and Lashana Lynch as the intelligence officer out to get him. Amelia Perez on Netflix. Zoe Saldana stars in this musical crime comedy. She takes a job to help a Mexican cartel boss fake his death so he can receive sexual reassignment surgery. Cross on Prime. This series is based on James Patterson's Alex Cross novels about a forensic psychologist who analyzes killers' minds to bring them to justice. Return of the King, The Fall and Rise of Elvis Presley on Netflix. This doc revisits Elvis Presley's comeback special from 1968 for an in-depth look at the show. Silo on Apple. This series about people who live underground in the titular structure is back for season 2. The World According to Jeff Goldblum on Disney is a doc about this unique actor. Hot Frosty on Netflix. This Christmas rom-com follows a widow whose magic scarf brings a snowman to life. The Lost Children on Netflix. This doc recounts how 4 indigenous children survived for 40 days in the Colombian Amazon after a plane crash killed all the adults. In December 2023, I interviewed Joe Carabeo about his work, and he mentioned his upcoming film, Kira vs. Everyone. Well, it's coming to Richmond soon, so Joe will be here next week to talk about this new film. This is Jerry Williams. Thanks for listening.
For more Sister, including literally thousands of reviews,
Visit tvjerry.com.
That's a wrap.